Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears, while we all sup sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. While we seek mirth and beauty and music light and gay, there are frail forms fainting at the door. Though their voices are silent, their pleading looks will say, oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. Oh, hard times come again no more.
Good morning. We're the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart, a welcoming community encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual spiritual and ethical growth, and celebrating diversity and promoting a just and sustainable world. My name is Ken Claiborne, and I'm a member of the board of this congregation. We're glad to have you join us for our service today. If you would like to know more about us, please visit our website at www.uufe.org. Thank you.
Hello, I'm so happy that you can be with us today. My name is Amy DeBeck. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and it is my privilege to serve as the minister for Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart. The first thing I want to say is how grateful I am to the entire congregation and everyone who jumped in there and did all of the work to give me a 3-week break that I needed pretty badly. I'm back, and it's really delightful to be with you again. Since the last time we were all together here, we mourn with Jim Todd as he grieves for his son. We uplift Doris Stickle as she settles into Miller's Mary Manor in Wakarusa, and also Dale Kern has joined Vern Thomas at Elkhart Place. We continue to meet online here for worship and enjoy each other's company in Zoom coffee hour and other online gatherings as well.
Good morning. We ring the gong 3 times. Once for those who came before us and made a place for us. Once for those who are here now. And once for those who will come after and build on the dream. The candle we light this morning reminds us of the spirit of this fellowship that binds us together during this time of separation. May this light embrace us with hugs of comfort when we have to share our grief in the absence of one another. The light gives us hope and assurance that our relationships are still alive and well through the pain and hunger of longing to be together again. May the flame of love lift any burdens, calm any anxieties, warm the cold fingers of loneliness, and give us all strength that we need to continue to navigate this unusual time in our history. The uncertainty of both our individual and communal futures are certainly grounded in the soil of this beloved community. For this, we are blessed.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. As we have not taken up an offering these last couple of weeks, being at General Assembly virtually and also joining South Bend last week, may we take up our offering this morning with generosity and spirit to fill up the coffers of the UUFE Sustainability Fund. Enjoy the music by Maeve. The hymn is number 1. May nothing evil cross this door. It is time for the morning offering. I don't know about you all, but I am pretty excited. It's July, and beginning August 1, it is the start of my 13th year with you. So usually the church year runs from July 1 to June 30, which means this is the first time in the new church year that we've been all together. Thank you, Chip Roush, for welcoming in UUFE to South Bend in my absence. Thank you, Patty and Chris, for putting on a phenomenal jazz brunch. And I hope that a lot of you went to GA virtual worship. I took some time off. I did not think about church. Well, not too much. I certainly missed the rhythm of church life, and I missed talking with so many of you. Some planning happened, and some clarity arose. Mostly, I shored myself up for what is coming up to be a year to remember. This coronavirus will be with us for some time. We'll get through it much better if we simply accept that it's here, less as an uninvited guest and more like a destructive squatter. A squatter is somebody who takes over an uninhabited building, and depending on local laws, they declare they have the right to live there as a squatter, which forces the owner to go through long legal proceedings to get them out. And while the owners are going through the loss of time and the expense, the squatters get to live in their property rent-free. COVID is more like a squatter than an uninvited guest. Eventually, we're going to get our home back, and unlike a guest, which indicates that it's somebody with whom we may have a continued relationship, when the squatter is gone, they're gone. If we can simply accept that things are different and start the plan or idea there without dwelling on the absurdity of a pandemic, then we might get to the point of creativity and invention faster than when we have to debate the matter constantly. So I'll repeat again, stay home, wear a mask, wash your hands, and when you do leave the house, even if it's just to sit with pals on your front porch, stay 6 feet apart and wear a mask. If we continue to connect with folks by phone and on Zoom and occasionally in person far apart, then we'll get to the other side of this thing alive. But what will the other side look like? I have hope, friends. I've had to change my opinion, my understanding, my actions, and sometimes my language about so many things recently that it could feel like we, or at least I, am on a shaky foundation. Yet, strangely and happily, it feels better, not worse. Rather than holding my breath until things return to normal, it is exciting, dare I say liberating, to imagine not returning to the old normal. We have an opportunity to bring the good stuff into the future and leave behind the bad. It feels freeing to imagine what good could come from the pain instead of just dwelling on the pain. If all that is left in the after-COVID times is grief and loss, it may feel like all of these people died in vain, that we did not learn anything, nor did we take the time to make new meaning of our lives. We must get through the challenges, grieve the losses, feel all of the feelings, but we can also imagine a world that is different than before the virus took over our homeland, before it declared squatters' rights. Have you ever been involved with something that you know isn't good, or it's not right, might not even be safe, but also you cannot or will not do anything about it? Really, I'm asking you to think about it. I've thought about it. I've stayed in relationships too long because it seemed unbearable to have to deal with the acts required to disentangle. Plus, it would signal a new identity. If I actually had gone through whatever change needed to be made, I might have to wear a new identity like single or unemployed or ex-friend. Ending relationships, even when they're healthy or even when they're unhealthy or no longer useful, is always hard. For America, for instance, ending our relationship with fossil fuels is too hard. We love our cars. So we planet lovers, like, people with the Sierra Club or folks who drive a Prius, whatever it is that makes us a planet lover, we start by villainizing coal. Most households are not dependent on it, and so proclaiming its dangers lands more easily with people. Once we have rid a geographic region of coal after a successful campaign to educate the citizenry about why it's bad, well, then the next step of introducing wind turbines is easier. Getting us accustomed to hybrid or electric cars has required these baby steps for us to just begin to accept them. Simply telling people to love the planet is not enough. In Indiana, we don't even have car inspections. We don't think we need to be responsible for the planet. We don't have emissions inspections. And we don't feel like we need to be responsible for other people's safety either. Heck, we don't even make motorcyclists wear helmets. So when you think about it, it was never going to be easy to make people wear masks. We willingly ignore the safety measures to protect ourselves or each other, as well as the needs of our only home planet. So, how has it happened that a small plucky group of religious liberals on Garden Street plan to buck a whole system? Well, for starters, we remember that we are a religious body, which means that we reach people spiritually, intellectually, raising up beauty, music, and art, doing pastoral care for the body, mind, and soul. Being part of a religious community such as ours is kind of like being at a rec center on a Saturday afternoon where you run between all the classrooms doing it all, with potluck after. In better times, there's singing and hugging and traveling together, and it's often the place where friends become family of choice. Being a religion, we have a mission statement. The Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart is a welcoming community, encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual, spiritual, and ethical growth, celebrating diversity, and promoting a just and sustainable world. A welcoming community. So our goal is beloved community who also nurtures a person's spiritual growth and a person's ethical growth. Do you hear the implication there that the whole community might also engage in spiritual and ethical growth together, as well as individually? I do. One of our most famous forebears, Ralph Waldo Emerson, a transcendentalist, wrote glowingly about self-reliance, which I struggle with because I believe that beloved community is where it's at. But maybe there is one point of his we can vibe with. He said that in the search for self-reliance, we must fight conformity. At some point, COVID will end, and we will not be able to easily identify who cares and who does not, because we'll not see who wears a mask and who doesn't. In the post-COVID world, we should not rush back to old ways, even if most of society does. If everybody is pushing to jump right back into colonialism, or racism, or misogyny, or fascism, we don't have to conform. Our religious values and our history will be there for us to rely on. From our mission statement, we can keep working to promote a just and sustainable world. Emerson is only one great source from our tradition. Another great source is in seeking wisdom from world religions. I have found this helpful during the Black Lives Matter protests and the removal of offensive statues around the country. So, let's talk about graven images. Many world religions have specific rules around statues and icons and likenesses. Most are pretty much against the practice of creating anything that could be worshipped as a god rather than worshiping God. Locally, we know certain things about our Amish neighbors, for instance. They consider photographs as graven images. Muslims do not allow for any likeness of the prophet to be shared. In ancient times, there was the problem of the golden calf. In Jewish antiquity, the second commandment states a prohibition of graven images, and those 10 commandments carried over to Christianity. So let's take a minute and let's look at this phenomenon of so many religious people and groups cautioning against idol worship. All through time, we humans have known that there could be a tendency to worship a thing instead of living a principled life. Images such as statues or art surely might be beautiful, but in the wrong context, they can distract from real spirituality. The statues coming down, like the ones in my beloved Richmond, Virginia, are graven images. These traitorous Confederate soldiers are worshipped by those who have chosen white supremacy for their life's principles. Removing them is not a religious act, and they're not religious statues, but we as religious people can draw on the wisdom of world religions to understand that when a graven image, Stonewall Jackson for instance, has more value than the lives of the Black Richmonders who live with this community-sanctioned hatred, then it's time to stop being distracted from living a principled life where Black lives matter. Many of us feel scared or angry or confused about protests and property damage and statue removal and so forth. As Bob Dylan said, the times they are a-changin', and fast. Well, one of our principles is to promote and affirm justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. When white people decide to answer their inner voice, what we find is that we wish there really was justice, equity, and compassion in all of our relations. And sometimes that means buildings get destroyed. The fact that protests have been going on for a month or more and are largely nonviolent until the police show up and make them violent, or white supremacists who do not live in the protest area show up to cause damage so that people of color get blamed and vilified, is evidence that our nation has a lot of work to do and that we're willing to do it. If we are not seeing the connections between police, violence, people of color, and white allies, then we need to do some internal work. There's Emerson again telling us to not conform. We don't have to be the white people clucking our tongues at TV news reports of riots. We can remember that we are free thinkers and we don't have to buy the propaganda being peddled. Don't look at a business being vandalized. It's only a building. Search your heart for compassion so that we might understand the rage of people of color. Then be an ally. Join a protest. Our mission statement says that we can learn and grow individually and as a community. Let us be the force for good we've always wanted to be. I understand we might not want to go out into the streets. There's COVID. But just speaking up when somebody says all lives matter is a protest. It's hard during COVID because probably the person saying it will be someone we love on a Zoom call, but do it anyway. The crux of this talk that we've been having is this: don't forget who you are during this challenging time. You are a Unitarian Universalist with tons of support for our values. Even if you've never thought about something as a religious matter before, I invite you to do it now. If you're with us today and you're not a Unitarian Universalist, read up on us. Keep visiting so that you might decide if our values are in line with yours. Values are what guide us, but being able to change our minds, be open to more love, more compassion, and then work for a just and sustainable world is what we actually do. For the days after COVID, I have hope. Our religion is powerful, and our congregation's mission statement is mighty. Lean into it. May we come out on the other side as better people, individually and as a group. This is how we honor the people who lose their lives during this pandemic, by making sure that the arc bends toward justice.
justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. Where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound.
Our closing words are from the Reverend Barbara Peskin. Because of those who came before, we are. In spite of their failings, we believe. Because of and in spite of the horizons of their vision, we too dream. Let us go remembering to praise, to live in the moment, to love mightily, to bow to the mystery. Blessed be. Amen. Stay home in peace.